but I will now give the floor to Bjorn, who is in charge of, how do you say, all the computerization and internet connection and the flipped learning process and so on and so forth. You're the big guy.
I'm pretty big, yes. Thank you. Hello, nice to see you all. Yes, my official project, my official job title is Project Director of the implementation of iPads in the Municipality of Kopavogur's primary schools. It's big, it's long, it's burdensome. If any of you can come up with something a little bit more snappy, then talk to me afterwards. Flipped learning is one of many things that we are implementing. My main focus is on iPads, and iPads obviously are well suited for flipped learning and lots of other things as well. I'm nothing to do with the internet connections though, that's somebody else's job, thankfully. First, a little bit about the timeline of our project. The Municipality of Kopavogur started with a new policy for information technology in schools, which was published in 2012. And the municipal elections in 2014 were a little bit of a turning point in Kopavogur. Because after the election, the new majority decided to go ahead with a one-to-one implementation of iPads for all students in the mid and oldest ranges of our primary schools. The Icelandic school system has 10 grades in primary schools, and as of last September, all students from grade 5 up to grade 10 have their own personal iPad for use in schools, while the younger students in the 1st through 4th grades have access to shared devices. So the decision to go ahead with this project was made in the spring of 2014, and the following school year, 14-15, was mostly dedicated to preparing the project. The first iPads were actually delivered to our approximately 500 teachers right at the end of that school year, and I mean seriously right at the end, on June 12th, the day before the summer holidays started. And since then we have delivered just under 3,000 iPads to students aged 10 to 15. We have done that in 3 phases. In September 2015, the first and oldest students were given their iPads, approximately 800 children in the 8th and 9th grade. The following February, the 6th and 7th grade followed with approximately 1,000 students. And finally, as I said, last September, the children starting 5th and 6th grade were given their iPads, and then the original group of 8th and 9th graders had moved up to the 9th and 10th grade. You will notice that the students starting the 10th grade in the last school year were excluded from the implementation. This was an unpopular decision amongst those students and their parents, but it was made after careful consideration, looking into other people's experiences and research into the implementation of technology. It was decided that 1 year just wouldn't be enough time for those changes to have any sort of meaningful positive impact on the learning of those students. I believe there are still voodoo dolls of me in some teenage bedrooms in Kopavogur. A project of this size is run in quite a complicated way, and I want to take a couple of minutes to try and sort of paint a picture of that for you. As I said, we have just under 3,000 students and 500 teachers holding iPads, so if you think about it, approximately 1% of the country's population has an iPad from us, which is kind of staggering when you think about it. The project itself, most of the largest key decisions are made by a leading group which consists of myself, the mayor of Kopavogur, the head of the education department of the municipality, the head of the IT department, and the town secretary. In this group, we make the most far-reaching decisions, such as what brand of tablet are we going to use, what mobile device management system will we use, in what order will we give iPads out to the students, etc. This group meets approximately every 2 months or so. I also meet regularly with the Board of Education in the municipality. Their role is to monitor the project and in some cases act as an advisory body. So they will come up with suggestions on next steps, etc. Then moving down to a more day-to-day planning level on the floor, I also meet every month with all the school principals in the municipality. There are 9 primary schools. There is a second group consisting of representatives of different stakeholders in the community, such as school leaders, teachers, parents, etc. And this group also meets on a regular basis and has as its role to form the pedagogical policy of our project. Finally, I work very closely with a technical director, that's who's responsible for the internet connections I mentioned, and 3 pedagogical consultants full-time, who are then my main line of communication with the teaching staff in all those schools. So lots of different groups coming together with this person as I suppose I'm the only member of all groups. Now, it was decided very early on that for this project to have any chance of succeeding, the most important key point to achieve in the beginning was to get the school principals on board. Everyone realized that without their commitment and without their buy-in, the project would be doomed. So during the 2014-15 school year, a lot of effort was put into providing professional development opportunities for those school principals. The municipality generously flew them all to London for the BET conference and Apple Leadership Summit. Visited several schools, both in our country and abroad, etc. And after the decision was made to go with Apple iPads as opposed to other brands of tablets, we have been lucky enough to receive some very generous support from the Apple Corporation. Well, I'm not here to advertise that brand over any other, but this was actually an important factor in the decision at the time. Compared to other providers, Apple seemed to put a great emphasis on providing support for educators and professional development opportunities. And we have had visits of foreign specialists in flipped learning and other modern ways of teaching, who have come up several times to visit us for conferences, workshops, etc. Professional development is an absolute key element in any implementation of this kind. The more effort you put into supporting teachers, adapting to new ways of working, the better chance you have of surviving. So the school principals received a lot of emphasis in the early days of our project. And I'm going to be perfectly honest, there are 9 school principals in Kopavogur, and they are very, very different people, very different educators, very different professionals. And we have seen our implementation move at varying degrees of speed between these 9 schools. And there seems to be a correlation between the buy-in and commitment of the principal to the implementation and the rate of success. So we have discovered that putting a lot of emphasis on this at the beginning is a pretty good idea, but it's not enough. You have to keep working on this issue constantly. Another thing we discovered and did our best to rectify towards the end of last school year, so approximately a year ago, was that this large emphasis that we had put on the principals, followed by many professional development opportunities and lots of support for teachers, middle management had sort of been left out of the loop. So we had vice principals, head teachers, heads of department, as the Icelandic term is, who in many cases had not received the kind of support that they needed. So we have been increasing our efforts to provide support for this group of staff. We're trying to achieve a sort of a pyramid structure so that there is project leadership filtering down to school principals in each school, filtering down to middle management in each school, and the level below that, the general teaching staff. We have also required all schools to put together a leadership team of 5 teachers or so in every school. These are the teachers who take on the responsibility of pulling the wagon on the floor, being the leaders that other teachers can go to for support, help and advice. We have also created copious amounts of instructions and teaching materials, learning materials for teachers, so that they always have somewhere they can go to for technical assistance and pedagogical assistance. I think a key element, and I'll just finish up with this, the most important thing to try to achieve in an implementation of this kind is a clear message to the teaching staff. And we have been trying to clarify this message as we go along in our project. I'll take a brief moment to explain why. We have found, as I said, that the level of the principals and school leaders buy-in is crucial. So is the ability of the principals to maintain a conversation on what the teachers are going through. Therefore, we have placed increased emphasis on providing professional development for school leaders and required them to attend such opportunities, so that they are able to be quite clear with their teachers on what is being tried to achieve with the implementation, what is required of teachers. The reason I think that we are probably only reaching the point this summer, at the start of our 3rd school year of the implementation, where we are actually at the point of saying to teachers, here in Kopavogur, we are using technology, we are using electronic learning in its many guises, and we require you to participate in this. I suppose we could have taken that approach at the start, but I doubt that it would have been very wise at the time. However, as our teachers gradually have been able to get used to new ways of teaching, new ways of learning, probably just about now we are at that point.
Thank you very much. Really interesting, and I think it confirms what I said earlier, that presumably Kopavogur is the leading municipality here in Iceland in terms of changing the learning process. We are now open for questions to Bjorn before Christian Omar comes here. If I may just throw to you one question.
Yes.
I know there are other municipalities that have they tried to go to the same direction, and they bought a bunch of iPads and gave it to the teachers and some of their students, and that's it. So to what extent is your focus on, you mentioned it is both pedagogy and also the technical things. Is it divided equally, your focus, the team, the steering team, or is the focus more on the technical things?
Well, the two things seem to mix quite a lot. Seen that the need for technical assistance to teachers has decreased significantly. That's the nice thing about these tablet things. They are very easy to master once you get the hang of them.
Questions to?
Has Kopavogur been monitoring or thinking about if the iPads have in any way saved time and money, or just being an add-on to all the things that the schools were doing?
Fantastic question. One of the things we see immediately is we're saving on paper and printing, obviously. That was to be expected. And we're seeing decreases in tens of percentages. Although printing and paper is not such a big part of the whole budget of the educational system for that to have a huge impact. We recently conducted a survey among all teachers in Kopavogur, and the reports came back that approximately 2/3 of them, now after 2 years, report that the iPad has saved time and work for them. So we seem to be making some headway there.
What about those teachers that did not like the change? There's always a group of people that don't like changes.
Yes.
I've been a teacher for 25 years.
Yeah. Quite a few of them, I believe, have left. I understand. I don't actually have a long history of working in the municipality of Kopavogur myself, but I understand that the turnover of teachers between this school year and the previous one was a little bit higher than usual in Kopavogur. There's always some turnover, but apparently it was close to 10%. So I don't think it's unreasonable to think that at least part of that is due to teachers thinking, no, this is not for me, I'd rather go work elsewhere. I think that's at least very possible. We are getting reports these days from school principals who are in the process of hiring in new teachers for the 2017-18 school year, that many of the applicants mentioned the iPad implementation as a reason for wanting to come and work in Kopavogur. So possibly in a sort of Darwinian way, that the problem is sorting itself out. However, we still have, of course, naysayers, some teachers who simply do not believe that this is the way to go. So far, we have not spent too much energy on trying to tackle that. This is the way we are going. If you disagree, you are entitled to that opinion, but this is the way we are going.
Okay, more questions to Bjorn?
In the beginning, why laptops, why iPads, not laptops?
Well, they are completely different devices. The reason that, well, put it this way. Approximately 15 to 20 years ago, my namesake Bjorn was Minister of Education in our country. And pushed laptops pretty hard on schools, thinking that they would transform and modernize education. Didn't entirely work. The tablet comes with features and possibilities that the laptop simply doesn't possess. Laptop is great for, shall we say, clerically based assignments, calculating and working with text. But when it comes to more creative things, video, sound, things like that, this is something that we want to put greatly increased emphasis on in Kopavogur. Then the tablet is the thing. It's also very portable, easy to bring anywhere, which is another of our main ambitions. We want our students to be able to access knowledge and learning wherever and whenever they like.
Yeah, my daughter is in school. She has had this iPad since 5th grade, and now she's 8th grade.
Yeah. This is a discussion we have, and I've had this discussion especially with a lot of parents. And myself, I actually hold borderline extremist opinions on this subject. I'm born in 1969, so I finished primary school in 1984, just around the time when electric typewriters were coming on the scene. And when I was finishing primary school, my school offered an elective course in typing, but we were not allowed to use electric typewriters because they wouldn't require us to exert the needed energy required to operate a non-electric typewriter. And I think that's a pedagogical mindset that it's just very, very hard for me to understand. So what I've said to this is, yes, for larger text-based assignments for students, the iPad is possibly not the best tool. In those cases, you could get yourself a Bluetooth keyboard. You could go to the computer lab, because we still have those in most schools in Kopavogur. So use another tool. Use the iPad for that which the iPad is good for, and not for the other things. Now, having said that, with the advent of language technology, I predict that QWERTY keyboard typing skills will be obsolete in just a few years.
Okay, time is running. Thank you very much. And I must add to this that last month Bjorn and his staff had an exhibition in Salren where all the schools in Kopavogur were giving an example of how the students have been using their iPads in the classroom. And I must say it was fantastic. Unbelievable to see what these primary school kids were able to do. So we congratulate you in my old hometown, Kopavogur.